We are imposing a complete siege on Gaza. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything will be closed. We are fighting against human animals and we are acting accordingly.
Okay, this is a big boy conflict now. Not one but two carrier groups on the way. An invasion of Gaza, 2 million people. Iran is involved. They're not involved. I don't know. I bet Lisa knows all this stuff. We need to spend like 3 hours with Lisa today, but we won't. But joining me now, Lisa Daftari, of course, editor-in-chief of the Foreign Desk. Lisa, all right, there's so much to do here, and let's just dig into it. Hamas. What is their capability? I'm going to set aside all this emotional vomiting that's been going on for a couple days. Let's deal with military capability. How organized are they? How financed are they? How sophisticated are they? And I asked that, Lisa, because that raid, horrific as it was a big boy military raid. That was sophisticated.
You know what was horrific about it? Many things, but one of the things that made it ultra complex is that it was both a war, like a military raid, as you said, but it also had elements of ISIS, this gruesome shock value, blood, beheading, raping, horrific. Hamas on its own, we haven't seen them launch this kind of attack. Obviously, for years, they've been kind of poking at Israel and kind of every summer. It seems like they love summertime operations, and they'll start and then Israel will finish and the world will be like, oh, Israel is so bad and Israel is so evil, not really discussing the fact that they're launching missiles into civilian areas and into Israel, but that's for another day. Right now, this complexity, this sophistication of this massacre obviously has Iran's regime fingerprints all over it. We know for a fact, Wall Street Journal broke the story. We knew this, but Wall Street Journal outlined the details of how Iran's regime orchestrated meetings with Hamas leaders and others, by the way. This wasn't just Hamas. We've been saying that for the past 72 hours. This was at least up to, I should say, not at least, but up to 4 different terror organizations, proxies that are funded by Iran's regime that got together in Beirut, meeting with Iran's regime which led up to the final green light that said, bless you, be on your way, go kill as many Jews as you can. The capability obviously is augmented by the help that Iran's regime is giving them, financially, militarily, and perhaps in terms of training.
Okay, Lisa, well, that's not surprising, but that leads me to a big concern I have that no one else seems to share at this point in time, but I sure have it. I'm looking at bombed out rubble in Gaza. Israel says they're going in. Well, going into an area with 2 million people hostile to you, or at least probably hostile to you, and trying to clear out an area like that is a very difficult military campaign. For the best militaries in the world, there'd be mass loss of life if you're facing a sophisticated enemy with weapons here. How can they not see, or did someone anticipate Israel's response? Are they walking into some sort of a trap here?
What's crazy to me is when they now want sympathy for this retaliation that Israel is launching, because you think, what did you expect? You were parading dead bodies and beheading 40 babies in one kibbutz alone. Did you want Israel to just bring over more sweets for you guys to enjoy while you're celebrating? Or did you actually think there would be consequences to what you're doing? The other issue here is that the Palestinians are victims. I don't want to dismiss or diminish from the fact that there will be lives lost and on both sides. And of course, Palestinian lives matter, but Palestinian lives don't matter to their own leadership. And that is something that no one talks about. Hamas puts them in harm's way. They put weapons in schools. They use these Palestinians as human shields. Whenever Israel goes in, they're not looking for a death toll. They're not. Hamas, if you watch the massacre, if you watch a lot of these videos, which they're very proud of, by the way, no one's hiding anything. They are actually flaunting what they did. If you watch these videos, they were after civilians. They were after teenagers and college students who went to a festival similar to Coachella. They wanted that high death toll, 300 young people right there, just spraying them. They wanted to behead babies, 40 babies in one shot. This is all by design. Israel, on the other hand, when they go into these areas, they are very strategic. They are targeted attacks. I've been doing this for so many years. I can tell you about all these different operations and how they go in. They announce that they're coming in. They try to get civilians out as best as possible. Hamas, Palestinian Authority, they tell them to stay. Why? Because they want that death toll to go up. It helps their case. It helps their story. People will deny this. People will say I'm crazy and I'm just making up stories. These are conspiracy theories. They're not. We're talking about a moral issue here. We're not even talking about are you pro-Palestinian or pro-Israel, which is crazy because what are people pro-Venezuela, pro-Cuba, and pro-Nicaragua? We don't talk about these things, right? But everyone has an opinion on Israel. And most people who have a very strong opinion anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian couldn't place those two places on a map if their lives depended on it. It's just pure propaganda. And that death toll helps in that propaganda to say, wow, well, now the Israeli tanks are coming in and that death toll is going to rise. We have to talk about this from a moral standpoint and look at Hamas as a terror organization that has brutally come in and killed civilians to raise that death toll. And now, if you want to talk about the Palestinians as victims, we can, but they're victims of Hamas. They're victims of Mahmoud Abbas. They're victims of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and nobody is talking about it.
Yes, there's no question about that. My question is, I'm worried about the safety of Israeli troops as they go in. This is 140 square miles. It's a population of 2 million people, now bombed out buildings. Anyone who knows anything about Stalingrad knows that is heaven for an insurgent group, especially an insurgent group who's willing to use their own population, as you just mentioned, as human shields. I don't think that this coming invasion is going to be a quick mop-up operation, as so many seem to think. This is going to be an ugly affair.
Ugly affair. Look, 300,000 reservists have been called back. Many of them leaving the United States, by the way. Many of them leaving the United States, leaving their families, leaving their pregnant wives. We're looking at so much footage. They all have a story. They all have families. They now have to be called into war. They did not want this war. They're now called into war. Many of them being called to the front lines. And as you said, it's senseless on both sides. But when you look at this, of course, it's going to be booby-trapped buildings. It's going to be rough. It's going to be very rough. And they have to up the ante in this case. Look, Bibi Netanyahu promised a retaliation that would be monumental because this massacre was monumental. It was not anything we've seen in the past. And of course, they anticipated a retaliation that would be commensurate with the attack that they launched. So now it's the time to do that. And unfortunately, lives lost on both sides, very, very senseless. And of course, our prayers are with the people of Israel and the peace-loving people in the Palestinian territories who don't want this, who don't want Hamas and are actually calling out terrorism. Much more so than the students at Harvard and the protesters on the streets of Times Square that don't even understand this conflict whatsoever. And it's really a shame. We just saw a statement by BLM Los Angeles in favor of the Palestinians. It's not the time for that. It's not the time for that. Are you in favor of beheading and raping? Are you in favor of that? I mean, I don't see any DEI groups from any major organizations and banks and world affairs groups coming out and saying we support the people of Israel. What's going on here? Are we for Hamas? Are we really for this ugly terror? It's pure evil. And the fact that we even have to say this and outline this is pretty heinous.
Lisa, what's Iran get out of this? They obviously help plan, coordinate, finance the whole thing. Now, Iran is many things. Stupid is not something I would call them. Irrational maybe, but not stupid. Why would you risk something like this? This isn't a couple rockets. This is a major invasion. They had to know there's going to be a response, and not just for Gaza. Israel's hitting Iran in some way or another hard in a way that is going to hurt. How can they not see that coming?
Right. Well, Israel has always viewed Iran as an existential threat and has always gone after very, very targeted weapons depots or deliveries and things like that, whether it be in Syria or elsewhere, wherever they can catch them. It's not always broadcasted and people don't always know about it, but obviously Israel has looked at Iran as the biggest threat. They've sworn to take them off the map. Right now, the biggest announcement here by this attack, this is the Iran regime's war against Israel. It's just being fought by proxies. But it's an announcement not just to Israel, but also to the United States. The United States has coddled the Iran regime, has cozied up to them, has begged them for a deal for the last 3 years. And they knew that they have us, that they have the leverage, they have the upper hand. They got $6 billion for a prisoner deal. Again, that check hasn't been cashed yet, which everyone thinks, wow, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not a conspiracy theory. When you tell someone, just the talk of giving someone $6 billion gives them financial confidence that money is coming in. It might just be the last installment that they are spending. It might be money that was given by the Biden administration to the PA because they reinstated aid that Trump said we will cut because it is going towards terrorism. Look, there's a lot of fingerprints on here, but the United States did embolden Iran's regime. Iran's regime did want to launch this war, gives them street credibility. It takes pressure off of them back at home because now they're involved in this. And the silver lining here, Jesse, I will tell you, is that I'm seeing a lot of people inside Iran giving support to the people of Israel, just like we saw the people of Israel giving support to the people of Iran over the last year when they were out on the streets protesting their government. So there is a lot of camaraderie here because I think that both sides see that they are victims of the same abusive government, that is the regime in Iran. And very, very unfortunately, Jesse, you and I are living in a country where our government and our White House is the one who is emboldening the wrong guys, the bad guys, the terrorists, the killers, the murderers, and they're not even admitting to it.
God, so true. Man alive. Lisa, thank you so much. I could keep you for an hour, but I'm going to let you go. I appreciate it.
Of course.
What a mess. I'm going to talk to Alex Marlowe about this, other things too, next. Before we get to that, let's do this real quick. Let's talk about saving dogs. You see, everyone really has a heart for abandoned dogs. Even people who don't even really care for pets that much. They don't like the thought, I would hope you don't like the thought of somebody taking their dog. I just can't imagine this, taking their dog and just dumping it on the side of the road. People do this all the time. They'll leave. People will move houses and leave their dog behind. It's a common thing. Delta Rescue is there to take them in. Delta Rescue is the world's largest care for life, no-kill animal shelter, the largest in the world. These dogs, when they get to Delta Rescue, are taken care of the rest of their lives. How do they do this? With you. With whatever you can send to deltarescue.org. They do this with your donations. They've been doing it a long time. The whole world knows about them. What a wonderful cause. Go to deltarescue.org and give what you can. All right? We'll be back.